Namaste. Welcome to my channel, the UPSC game. These are the important contents which we are going to cover today, so stay focused. Hello guys, my name is Vijay and here we are with another interesting news. Today we are going to discuss about Santhal Revolt. It comes under the GS history part under the micro theme of revolt and mutiny, right? And I shall also teach you today how to read movements, that is both tribal or agrarian or socio-economic also, right? When you read such movements, first you have to just question yourself what you have to read or what the examiner wants you to read, right? First you have to know where did it happen, right? And when did it happen, right? And who is the leader, right? And then why it happened, and at last what is the impact. These 5 W's should be your basis of reading any movement, right? In this video, we are going to discuss about the PYQs related to the topic, the Santhal Revolt, and when I say the revolt, we would do the 5 W's, right? And we shall also discuss other similar revolts which are important, right? With that, let's dive into the topic. When you look at the PYQs related to the topic, that is important revolts and mutinies. After Santhal uprising subsided, what were the measures taken by colonial government? This is the what happened or what is the impact section, right? In the 5 W's, he is literally asking the one of the 5 W, right? The territories called Santhal Parganas were created. Yes, this is right. And it became illegal for Santhal to transfer land to non-Santhals. Yes, this is for protection, right? So both may be right, right? So I would take the C, right? Both 1 and 2. And actually that is the answer. Then the next question, with reference to history in India, Ulgulan or the Great Turmoil is led by. Most of you might have known this answer. Please comment it in the comment section, right? Then we shall go into the topic, right? The Santhal HUL completes 170 years today, right? Every year the state of Jharkhand also celebrates June 30. Remember this date, June 30. That is the last day of June. Give the June to Santhals. You can remember this like that. Give the June to Santhals as HUL Divas, right? Marking the beginning of this rebellion. The Santhal Rebellion or HUL, they call the rebellion as HUL, literally revolution, right? Began in 1855. This is 2 years before the 1857, right? That is what they give, right? Organized war against colonialism led by Santhals, standing against the myriad forms of oppression by the British and their collaborators, zamindars, corrupt moneylenders. There are 3 things you have to remember. One, by the British, the zamindars, the corrupt moneylenders. These 3 were the problems, right? This is why part, right? Why. And this is when. And this is where, right? We have covered 3. And this is by whom, right? That is the Sidhu and Kanhu. It saw the participation of as many as 32 castes and communities. This is one of the important point. You need not remember the exact number, but it is easy, right? 32, 8 4s are 32, right? So if S is like 8, so S into 4, 8 4s are 32. Whatever the way may be, you have to form some short form to easily remember the fact, right? We already discussed why here, but it is broad, right? We shall know the background here, right? The seeds of Santhal Rebellion, however, were sown in 1832. See, it is much before the 1855, right? When the East India Company created Dominico region in the forested belt of Rajmahal Hills. This is what you have to do the geography. If India is like this, here it will be, right? The Jharkhand area, the Rajmahal Hills. And the area was allocated to Santhals displaced from Birbhum, Murshidabad, Bhagalpur, Barabham, and Manbham, and Palamau, and Chotanagpur. These are all mostly places in the Bihar and Jharkhand areas, right? Then, while the Santhals were promised settlement and agriculture in Dominico, what followed was repressive practice of land grabbing and begari. That is, these two types, you have to remember these two names, the bonded laborers, Kamyoti and Harvahi. This is easy, right? This is kam, that is work, that is labor. EOT means without giving any money, you can remember like that, right? And about this, Harvahi, you can remember this word as hardin, काम रहते वैसा. You can form any mnemonics easily with respect to your regional languages. It is easy like that, right? And what are Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act and Chota Nagpur Tenancy Acts? These two acts are very important, right? The SPT Act of 1876. See, this can be like the impact. What is the impact thing, right? SPT Act of 1876 prohibits the transfer of Adivasi lands to non-Adivasis, right? Ensuring the rights of Santhals to self-govern their lands. The Chota Nagpur Act of 1908, see, this is very after about 50 years, right? Allows land transfers within the same caste and geographical areas with the district collector's approval, restricting the sale of Adivasis and Dalit land. Okay. The examiner asks a dimension like what is the impact. You can write a point like long lasting impact. This could be a point, right? That is, you can quote these two examples here, right? Then, what was the outcome? Well, this is the immediate outcome here. But you have to just read it and leave it, right? You can read and leave this slide. I just gave you because you have to know the facts about it, right? You need not mug it up, but if you sometimes you may lack some, you may not remember many points, then you can just phrase these points, right? After the rebellion broke out in 1855, both sides continued clashing till the uprising was crushed in 1856, right? That is 1 year. The British defeated the Santals using the modern firearms and war elephants. See this? Remember these two words, right? The firearms and war elephants. That means you can easily, like, you can analyze that Santals lack in these two areas, right? The revolt continued for almost 6 months. Ad was eventually, sorry, this is a typo error here. That was eventually crushed in January 1856. Over 15,000 Santals were killed and 10,000 villages were destroyed. The British hanged Sidhu in August 1855 and Kanhu in February 1856. Right? Then about impact. In 1857, when there was a mutiny, as reported as first such in British India, the Hazaribagh and Manbham areas, current Dhanbad and Purulia areas, right, had also led a war against the Britishers. So the idea of HUL rebellion did not die down with its suppression. You can phrase this as an example that the HUL rebellion was an initiation and it was not an end, right? Then, what are Santhals? I have gone into this because this topic is specifically with respect to Santhals, right? So we have to just look after what are they and what are their status right now or something like that, right? So when you see, the Santhals were not the original inhabitants of modern day Santhal Pargana, which includes 6 districts: Dumka, Pakur, Godda, Sahibanj, Diogad, parts of Jamtara. They had migrated from Birbhum and Manbhum regions. We have discussed about it in the first slide, right? These are from Bengal and Jharkhand or Bihar areas, right? Starting around the late 18th century, 1770 famine in Bengal caused Santhals to begin moving, and soon what British wanted was a stable revenue, right? They are just money suckers, right? They just want money or the revenue. So what did they think? They want to settle the tribal people so that they can get a stable revenue from them, right? So what they did, with the enactment of permanent settlement of 1790, the East India Company was desperate to bring ever-increasing area in its control under the settled agriculture. Settled, see, stress this word, settled agriculture. Today, Santhal community is third largest tribal community in India, spread across Jharkhand, Bihar, Odisha, and West Bengal, right? Well, this is about what the Santhals are, right? Then we shall also discuss about other tribal rebellions. One of the most important is Munda rebellion, right? The Birsa Munda. You might have recalled, right, about Birsa Munda and Janjatiya Gaurav Divas, which the PM has launched, right? Birsa Munda launched Ulgulan movement, right? That is the Munda rebellion itself, right? In 1899. How can you remember this? Just a year at the end of the century, right? Using weapons and guerrilla warfare to drive out foreigners, right? He encouraged the tribals to follow Birsa Raj and not comply with colonial laws and rent payments. Objectives here, what is the aim, right? To overthrow the British government, expel outsiders, establish independent Munda state, right? Then what is the impact? The movement contributed to governments. We have seen this, right? The Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act, Santhal Tenancy Act, right? SNT and CNT, right? It repealed the Begar system and led to Tenancy Act in 1903, which recognized the Kunkati system. The CNT Act, we have already discussed about this, right? Later banned the passage of tribal land to non-tribal folks, right? You might have known this, the Birsa Munda, known as Dharti Aba, the father of the earth. Birsa Munda organized the Ulgulan against the British operation in 1890s, right? That is the 1899. And November 15th is his birthday. So it is celebrated as the Janjati Gaurav Divas, right? Then we shall talk about Paika Rebellion. Where did it happen? It happened in Odisha's Khurda, right? It was referred as original first war of Indian independence. In general, what is determined or what is called as first war of independence? Though it is debatable, but in general, 1857, right? 1857 revolt is called as first war of independence, right? But this has happened in 1817 itself. That is 40 years before the original one. That is the Paika, right? Originally, they were military retainers, but as the British ousted the rulers, have hired these military retainers under the leadership of Bhakshi Jagbandhu, Vidyadhar Mohapatra, and Bhara Marba Rai. And why is the question? And we have already seen, ousted by the British and their land holdings are dispossessed, right? Here they gave, right? Have dethroned and exiled the Khurda king 1803. Then started introducing new revenue act. That is the land holdings are dispossessed, right? For Paikas, who were into rendering material services in return for the hereditary rent-free land, Nishkar Jagirs. Nishkar Jagirs, right? This is easy, right? Easy to remember. That is hereditary. This disruption meant losing both their estates and social standing. But the trigger point here is the revolt came as soon as 400 Khonds descended from Ghumusar area to rise against the British. Then these three persons, who are highest ranking military general of banished Khurda king, led an army of Paikas to join the uprising of Khonds. Right? When you read the Paika rebellion, you have to remember the Khonds. That is, you can easily club these terms as PK, right? Paika and Khond. PK, you know the PK movie, right? Like that, you can remember any fact, right? It is easy. Then we shall learn about coal revolt. Our same first question is, where did it happen? That is same, that's Chota Nagpur area. And when did it happen? That is 1831. How can you club this? We know the 1833 Charter Act, right? 2 years before this is coal revolt, and 2 years before 1857 revolt is Santhal revolt, right? Just revise it once or twice, you will get it easily. See, there are many ways to remember any fact, and you have to form which is easy for you, right? For example, you can learn this as 2 years before 1833, or you can just reverse the terms of 1813, that is 1831, right? You can remember any way which is easy for you, right? There are no universal mnemonics for anything. If you form the mnemonics yourselves, it is very much better than anyone forming for you, right? And when you ask why, the trigger here is the same land and property were taken out of the tribal hands, right? By the non-tribal settlers. Because of the economic exploitation, Buddhu Bhagat and Joa Bhagat and Madara Mahato, among others. Just you can easily remember, like there are two Bhagats, right? You can just sync this with Bhagat Singh playing coal. You know the coal art, right? Coal art, right? And here too, the other tribes also joined in, right? And where did it happen? Areas like Ranchi, Hazaribagh, Palamau, Manbham are continued for almost 2 years, right? Remember these areas. Then we shall discuss about Bhil uprising. When you learn about Bhils, also learn about Bhil arts, because those are very much important, and these are generally considered one of the unique arts, right? Well, with respect to Bhil uprising, after British intruded into the Bhil territory in Maharashtra's Khandesh region, where you can keep this as where Khandesh, Bhil Khandesh. The tribals pushed back, fearing exploitation under the new regime in 1818. See, this is just 1 year after the Paika, right? This is the way you have to remember all the facts. If not, it will be very hard to remember all the facts in the UPSC syllabus. It is impossible to remember, right? And by who? That is Sevaram. I would generally remember this name, particularly with respect to map. Why? Because it is easy like that. Here it is Rajaram, here it is Sevaram. I would just remember like that. It would be easy for me like that, right? There are two instances of this uprising, that is in 1818 and 1825 also. This may not be a major fact. You can just leave it, as the Bhils sought to take advantage of the reverses. Yeah, this is a part of his 1824. The Anglo-Burmese war has happened, right? And the siege of Bharatpur was also happening. right? These are all the facts which I linked to 1824 and 25, right? You have to also link some facts with the years. Then we shall discuss about Dhal revolt and at last the Tana Bhagat movement, right? And where did the Dhal revolt happen? It happened in Jharkhand. And when did it happen? It happened in 1767. This is just 3 years after Buxar, right? Battle of Buxar. That is 1764, right? You can just remember like that. The Jharkhand and West Bengal regions, right? The revolt lasted 10 years, which is a very long period. In response to the ongoing unrest, the British reinstated Jagannath Dhal as ruler of Dhalbam in 1777. This could be, we can write what is the outcome, right? Then we shall go with Tana Bhagat movement. And in general, where did it happen? This also happened at Jharkhand, right? And when did it begin? It began in 1914. This is, you can remember this fact anyway, like you can link it to 1911 or you can link it to 1919 also, right? And by whom was it led? That is Jatra Bhagat, right? Of Oraon tribe. He called for a return of traditional practices, rejecting colonial rule and Western influences. Bhagat highlighted agrarian issues and initiated a no rent campaign. This is a good point. You can frame it in your answers. Urging laborers to refuse forced or low wage work. See, the differences between the early, that is 1800s or 1700s revolts and the 1914 revolt is they are just attacking mostly, right? But by the time 1914 has come, here see, there is no rent campaign or agrarian issues. This is mostly somewhat peaceful, right? Earlier used to be just attacks. So you have to analyze these factors also, because when you analyze such things, you can easily recreate such facts according to the demand of the questions, right? So with that, we shall end this session for today. Jai Hind. कृतज्ञाहम्